Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to tackle a word that you've heard 1,000 times, but what does it actually mean? That word is pseudoscience.
Okay, let's just dive right in. We all think we know it when we see it, right? But what is it really? What's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear that word?
Is it something like astrology? You know, the ancient belief that the stars and planets are somehow guiding our lives?
Or maybe it's the hunt for mysterious creatures, right? Things like Bigfoot, always hiding just out of sight. Or what about all those stories of UFOs, alien visitors, and massive government cover-ups? Well, the truth is, it's all of these things, and actually, a whole lot more.
Because here's the thing. The line between what's real science and what's pseudoscience, it's incredibly blurry. It's such a tough problem that philosophers actually have a special name for it.
They call it the demarcation problem. And for literally centuries, some of the smartest people on the planet have been trying to draw this clean, perfect line to separate one from the other.
Probably the most famous attempt came from a philosopher named Karl Popper. He came up with this really simple, kind of elegant rule he called falsifiability. And the idea is pretty straightforward. For a theory to be scientific, it has to make some risky predictions. Predictions that you could actually go out and test and potentially prove wrong. If there's no way to ever prove it false, Popper said, then it's just not science.
But there's a huge catch. Another philosopher, Larry Laudan, pointed out a massive flaw in this. See, a lot of what we'd call pseudoscience, think about flat earth theories, for example, they make claims that are super easy to test and prove false. So, under Popper's rule, because they're falsifiable, they would technically count as scientific. And that can't be right. So a simple rule just isn't going to cut it. Okay, so if there's no easy one-size-fits-all rule, then what are we actually dealing with here? Well, it turns out pseudoscience has a few different faces. And the first one, it's kind of like a ghost from science's own history.
Yeah, we're talking about something called obsolete science. These are theories and ideas that back in the day were totally legitimate. This was cutting-edge stuff. But science moved on, and these ideas got left behind. They just kind of haunt the halls of history now.
Just look at astrology. Today it's pretty much the poster child for pseudoscience, right? But for almost 2,000 years, it was the peak of mathematical and scientific thought. You had royalty funding it, and some of the greatest minds ever, like Galileo and Kepler, were practicing it. It wasn't like one day someone debunked it. It just faded away as new ideas like Newtonian physics came along and just did a better job of explaining the universe.
All right, so that's the first phase. The second one, it isn't some ghost from the past. Nope, it's a living, breathing copycat that exists right now. Let's call this anti-establishment science. This is what happens when a group rejects the mainstream scientific consensus. They don't just sit around and argue about it. They go out and build their own version of the scientific world, a parallel universe just to support their theories.
And they build the whole thing. They have their own research institutes, their own peer-reviewed journals, their own textbooks, their own international conferences. Think about movements like creationism. They've perfectly copied the structure of mainstream science to create this totally separate, self-contained world for their ideas.
Okay, so we have the ghosts and the rebels. Now let's look at the third phase. And this one, well, you could argue it's the most dangerous of all. This is when the language of science is used as a weapon. We're talking about denialism, and it's a very specific strategy. The goal isn't to find the truth. The goal is to create the appearance of a scientific debate, to manufacture doubt and uncertainty in the public's mind, usually to make money or push a political agenda.
And this tactic was basically perfected by the tobacco industry. Back in the 1950s, evidence was piling up that smoking causes cancer. So what did they do? They didn't try to prove their product was safe. No way. They hired a PR firm. And their whole mission was just to create doubt. There's this famous internal memo that says it all. Doubt is our product. That was the goal.
And from that, they created a playbook. Step 1, fund your own research to get some conflicting expert opinions. Step 2, yell from the rooftops about the controversy, making it sound like a real scientific debate. Step 3, insist the science isn't settled and we need more research. And the end game? Delay any kind of action or regulation. And you know what? This exact same playbook has been used over and over for acid rain, the ozone layer, climate change, you name it.
And look, this isn't just about corporations trying to protect their profits. The same exact tactics can be used to push a political ideology. A really chilling example is from Nazi Germany, where a couple of Nobel laureates actually promoted something called Aryan physics. It wasn't based on better science, it was an ideological weapon designed to attack what they called Jewish physics, which was really just a label for the incredible work of people like Albert Einstein.
So, let's recap. We've got the ghosts of science past, the rebels building their own science universes, and the weaponization of scientific language. They seem pretty different, right? But what do they all have in common? What's the source of all this? You might think, okay, what's the fix? Maybe we just need stricter rules for what counts as science. But if you do that, you risk killing the kind of crazy, out-of-the-box thinking that leads to breakthroughs. Okay, so what about just more science education? Well, the problem is, this isn't really about a lack of facts. For a lot of people, it's about a sense of community, of identity. This powerful belief that you know the real truth, and the mainstream is trying to hide it.
And that leads us to the answer, which is both really simple and kind of mind-bending. Pseudoscience isn't some enemy attacking science from the outside. It's not an other. It is the shadow that science itself creates.
No, really, think about it. What makes science work so well? It's all about competition, right? A brutal battle of ideas, fierce debate, constantly challenging the status quo. Well, in any competition, there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. And some of those losing ideas and the people who believe in them, they don't just pack up and go home. They persist. And that persistence, that refusal to give up on a rejected idea, that is the engine that creates pseudoscience. The wilder part? The more powerful and respected science becomes, the sharper and more defined that shadow gets.
So if you really wanted to get rid of pseudoscience completely, you'd have to get rid of science itself, and obviously nobody wants that. So the real question isn't how do we destroy this thing? The real question is how do we understand it? How do we learn to see it for what it is? Because at the end of the day, not every shadow is hiding a monster. Sometimes it's just hiding a ghost of who we used to be.